So Todd and I sat down and we took a look at the next decade, and we came up with 3 stories we believe will dominate the 2020s.
And what they mean to you. Story number 1 is the coming $50 trillion tsunami into index funds.
This was a story that Bank of America broke a couple weeks ago, predicting that $50 trillion would be invested in ETFs by the end of the decade.
And Bloomberg came out with a report titled The $74 Trillion Historic Shakeout.
Wall Street Journal, a little earlier than that, headlined that index funds were the new kings of Wall Street.
And The Economist came up with their cover story entitled Masters of the Universe. So trillions, that's a huge number. Where do you see these trillions coming from, Mike?
Well, the $74 trillion mentioned in the Bloomberg report identified the entire market, and they were talking about how index funds were receiving net inflows,
right,
while active managers have been receiving net outflows for the last 10 years.
And active managers?
They're the traders, the stock pickers, the timers.
Right.
And so those are strategies that have been losing out to the index funds and the passively managed funds. So the 74 trillion already exists in the market.
Right.
So the historic shakeout they're talking about would be percentage of that moving into index funds. And I think some of those assets will be created by new investors who realize that they don't have to be brilliant to be able to invest in the market. They can actually just own a market and do as well as Warren Buffett.
And the popularity of index funds, just owning the market, is a lot better and easier than just trading and timing the market.
So investors have spoken. Index funds have become the new standard on Wall Street.
Why? They're simple, low cost. They beat most managers most of the time.
So we have $7 trillion currently in index funds and ETFs. So whether or not we hit 50 trillion by the end of the decade, stay tuned. Todd and I agree. We think it'll hit that number.
And we're going to be covering it for you, the investor.
So a $50 trillion index fund tsunami is on its way. What's an investor to take away from that? What takeaways can we give the investors?
They have to understand that there's a new investment economy.
Totally different from what we've had for the last 10 years.
Massive shift underway, going from physical to digital.
Yeah, I mean, just think of the New York Stock Exchange. No one's really there
No
anymore.
one's there. It's all digital.
It's on the internet. You don't have to have a broker if you don't want a broker. That's a big deal. And to understand that is going to put you in a better position.
Right.
So the takeaway number 1 is just understand the new investment economy.
So investor takeaway number 2 is to be aware of closeout sales. The old Wall Street is fading away.
What happens when a store goes out of business? They start blowing out inventory.
Yeah, they start giving away services for free.
These are gimmicks to trap you into the old model. They're trying to keep their market share. Ignore it. It's just noise.
Okay, so investor takeaway number 3 is you can now own entire markets through index funds.
Yeah, this is a huge macro shift in investment philosophy. We're going from a stock picking, try to beat the market philosophy that's pretty much ran Wall Street for the last 100 years to just own a whole market, be satisfied with those returns instead of trying to beat the market.
But the natural tendency is to try to beat the market. Trade it, time it, and crush it. But that's not really where the returns are.
It turns out owning the market actually beats the traders. So
that's right.
The takeaway here is that index funds have become popular because there's a shift in the entire investment philosophy of investors, and that is to own markets, and now you can easily do it by just simply buying an index fund. Takeaway number 4, be ready for the emergence of the next guard.
Right.
The faces of the next Wall Street.
Yeah, you've got new faces like Robinhood, Acorns, Betterment, Wealthfront. Those are the new faces of the next Wall Street.
Yeah, and you saw this in the banking industry. The banking industry quickly shifted to Zelle and Venmo and
Cash App.
Cash App.
No more brick and mortar.
Right. Think of the car industry.
Yeah.
You had the big three dominating it for so many years, and then out of nowhere you have Tesla.
Rivian.
They were bankrolled by Amazon, I believe.
That's right, yeah.
Sony came out with an electric car.
Super cool electric car.
At the latest Las
CES,
Vegas show.
when it CES?
Just out of nowhere. They've never done a car before.
Looked pretty cool.
It did look pretty good. These are the types of companies that are going to start to pop up everywhere.
So these companies are going to be creating value, and so be open to learning about them, download the apps, do some reviews online, and understand what you can do to take advantage of these new emerging companies that are going to be replacing the old guard on Wall Street.
And making your life simpler.
Easier for you to invest. So the fifth takeaway for investors is to become an index funds expert. It's not that hard.
And besides, we'll walk you through that.
We'll be here for you. So catch the index funds wave and be part of this massive historic shift into this $50 trillion tsunami.
So Todd, this is great news for investors. An average investor can invest in an index and compete against and win against some of the best traders on Wall Street.
Like Warren Buffett. We're gonna help you understand what to do.
We want you to take part of it.
And we want to position you right in front of this so you can ride this wave. $74 trillion shakeout into historic breakout, which is different than a shakeout.
Just starting to get it, Todd.
Okay. This